In the quiet corners of history, where secrets whisper through the fog, 3 lives ended in riddles that echo still. A woman burned in a Norwegian valley, a codebreaker locked in a London bag, and another woman lost in an Oslo hotel room. The Isdal Woman, Gareth Williams, and Jennifer Fairgate left behind no clear answers, only trails of aliases, codes, and shadows that hint at lives lived in disguise. As you settle into the night, let their stories unfold, each a puzzle of espionage and enigma, pulling you gently into a world where truth hides just beyond the stars. Before we begin, I'd like to invite you to join me and my fellow true crime podcasters at CrimeCon this September 5th through the 7th in Denver, Colorado. It's a great time to meet up with your fellow crime buffs and armchair sleuths. Use my discount code BRINK, that's BRINK, at checkout to save 10% off your tickets. Welcome back to True Crime Sleep Stories, the podcast where the shadows of real-life mysteries weave their way into your dreams, gently lulling you into a deep, restful slumber. Dim the lights, pull up those cozy covers, and let your eyelids grow heavy as you settle in. Relax every muscle from your toes to the top of your head. Allow the gentle rhythm of my voice to guide you, like a soft blanket wrapping around your thoughts. Now, close your eyes and let me transport you with a bedtime story that's equal parts chilling and calming. A true tale from the annals of the unexplained, perfect for drifting off into peaceful oblivion. The first case we will discuss tonight is the Isdal Woman, 1970, Norway. She was a woman with many names, slipping through Europe's shadows until the flames in a Norwegian valley hid her secrets forever. Tonight, we unravel the enigma of the Isdal Woman, a mystery woven with cryptic codes, false identities, and whispers of espionage. As you drift toward sleep, let the fog of Bergen's mountains and the echo of her untold story carry you into a world where truth remains just out of reach. On a chilly Sunday morning, November 29, 1970, a professor and his 2 young daughters set out for a hike in the rugged Isdalen Valley, nestled in the foothills of Mount Ulriken near Bergen, Norway. The valley, known to locals as Death Valley for its history of medieval suicides and modern hiking mishaps, was shrouded in fog. As they climbed the rocky terrain, a sharp, acrid smell cut through the crisp air. One of the daughters wandered off the path and froze. Among the scree, partially hidden by stones, lay the charred remains of a woman, her body twisted in a boxer-like stance, arms bent, as if shielding herself from the flames. Her face was unrecognizable, scorched beyond identification, but the back of her body was eerily untouched. The family fled to alert the authorities, unaware they had stumbled into one of Norway's most enduring mysteries. The Bergen police arrived to a scene that seemed staged, almost ceremonial. The woman's clothing was burned, and all identifying labels had been meticulously removed. Scattered around her were peculiar items: a half-empty bottle of St. Halvard liqueur, 2 plastic water bottles, a melted passport holder, rubber boots, a woolen jumper, a scarf, and nylon stockings. A purse, an umbrella, a matchbox, a watch, 2 earrings, and a ring lay nearby, some arranged as if placed deliberately. Traces of burned paper circled the body, and beneath her rested a fur hat, later found to contain traces of petrol. The absence of a nearby fire source baffled investigators. How had she burned so intensely without scorching the surrounding ground? The autopsy revealed more questions than answers. The woman, estimated to be 25 to 40 years old, about 5 feet 4 inches with long dark hair, had soot in her lungs, indicating she was alive during the fire. A bruise on her neck suggested a blow or fall, and her blood contained carbon monoxide. Most strikingly, she had ingested at least 50 phenobarbital sleeping pills, a dose typically lethal, though not all had dissolved in her stomach. The official ruling leaned toward suicide, citing the pills and fire, but the circumstances, her erased identity, the remote location, the lack of a clear fire source, sparked skepticism among investigators and locals alike. As police dug deeper, they uncovered a trail of deliberate deception. 3 days after the discovery, 2 suitcases linked to the woman were found abandoned at Bergen's railway station. Inside were wigs, non-prescription glasses, a hairbrush, cosmetics, prescription skin cream with the name scratched off, and several currencies: German marks, Norwegian crowns, British pounds, Swiss francs, and Belgian francs. A notebook contained handwritten codes, later deciphered as a travel log of dates and locations, such as 022-029 for Oslo and B1B7 for Bergen. Most chillingly, 500 Deutschmark notes were sewn into the suitcase lining, hinting at a need for untraceable funds. Every item lacked identifying marks, as if she had systematically stripped her possessions of any tie to her past. Investigators traced her movements through hotel records, uncovering a web of aliases: Fenella Lorsch, Genevieve Lancier, Claudia Tilt, Claudia Nielsen, Alexia Zarn Merches, Vera Jarl, Elizabeth Lienhofer, and more, at least 8 in total. She had stayed in 9 hotels across Norway, including Oslo, Trondheim, Stavanger, and Bergen, often paying in cash and requesting room changes, sometimes multiple times at the same hotel. Witnesses described her as elegant, reserved, and multilingual, speaking English with an accent, German, Flemish, and possibly French. At Bergen's Hotel Neptune, 21-year-old waitress Alvild Rangnes recalled her as unapproachable, dining alone or near German naval officers, her demeanor calm but guarded. A shoe salesman, Rolf Rurtvedt, remembered her lingering over a pair of rubber boots, noting a strong smell, possibly garlic, and a foreign accent. Each encounter painted a picture of a woman who was both memorable and elusive, leaving no lasting trace. The Cold War, at its height in 1970, cast a shadow over the case. Norway, a NATO member bordering the Soviet Union, was a hotspot for espionage. Bergen housed military installations, and declassified records later revealed the woman's movements aligned with top-secret trials of the Penguin missile, a Norwegian anti-ship weapon. A fisherman reported seeing her near a missile testing site in Stavanger, a claim corroborated by the shoe salesman's account. Norwegian intelligence quietly investigated, suspecting she might have been monitoring NATO activities, possibly for the KGB, a Western agency, or even a non-state actor. Her multiple fake passports, wigs, and coded notes fueled speculation that she was a spy, perhaps a courier or operative whose mission ended in betrayal or exposure. Witness accounts added layers to the mystery. A 26-year-old hiker claimed he saw her 5 days before her death on a trail near Fløyen, looking terrified and trailed by 2 men in black coats. When he reported this to police, he was told to forget it, as the case would never be solved. A Forbach, France, resident later claimed a brief relationship with her in summer 1970, describing her as a polyglot with a Balkan accent who used wigs and took secretive phone calls. He found a photo of her on horseback among her belongings, but feared reporting her suspected espionage. In 1991, an anonymous taxi driver said he drove her to Bergen's railway station with an unknown man, hinting at a companion in her final days. These stories, while compelling, led nowhere concrete. Theories proliferated. Was she a Soviet agent tracking NATO's missile tests? A double agent eliminated by her handlers? Some speculated she was linked to Israeli intelligence, given Mossad's operations in Norway, though 2017 DNA tests showing European descent made this less likely. Others proposed she was involved in organized crime, smuggling, or check fraud, but no evidence supported these claims. A more tragic theory suggested mental illness, with her aliases and paranoia reflecting delusions, though her methodical planning argued against this. A 2023 lead tied her to Swiss banker François Genoux, a terrorism financier, suggesting she might have been a Palestinian operative or courier, possibly seeking Norway's heavy water for nuclear purposes. Yet, her erratic travel and numerous identities puzzled experts. Professional spies typically use 1 or 2 airtight aliases, not 8, and avoid drawing attention. Forensic advances offered hope. In 2016, the case was reopened, and preserved tissue and a rediscovered jawbone allowed DNA and isotope analysis. Her teeth suggested a childhood near the French-German border, possibly in French-speaking Belgium, and a birth date around 1930 to 1945. Her mtDNA haplogroup, H24, pointed to Southeast Europe or Southwest Asia. Interpol issued a black notice with this profile, but no matches emerged. Genetic genealogist Colleen Fitzpatrick offered to assist, but Norway's strict DNA laws limited progress. Handwriting analysis hinted at a Central European education, and a French passport was suspected based on flight records. Yet, her identity remained a void. The official suicide ruling never sat right. The sleeping pills and fire suggested intent, but why burn only her front? Why arrange her jewelry? The neck bruise and lack of a fire source pointed to foul play, possibly a staged suicide. Some investigators believed Norwegian intelligence or foreign agents pressured a quick closure to avoid diplomatic fallout. Retired officers later admitted skepticism about the suicide verdict, with one's son recalling his father's obsession with the case's unresolved threads. The Isdal Woman was buried in February 1971 in a zinc coffin at Mullendal Cemetery, given Catholic rites based on her saint-inspired aliases. Only police attended. Her grave, unmarked, preserves her remains in case family emerges. The 2018 podcast Death in Ice Valley by NRK and BBC reignited global interest, prompting new tips but no breakthroughs. Her sketch, redrawn in 2016, still circulates, a ghostly image of a woman who existed everywhere and nowhere. As you drift into sleep, picture the Isdalen Valley's fog, the crackle of a fire that burned too precisely, and a woman whose life was a cipher. Was she a spy, betrayed by the shadows she served? A fugitive, erasing her past? Or a lost soul, consumed by her own secrets? Her coded notebook, wigs, and vanished name linger, a puzzle unsolved, whispering through the Norwegian night. The next case we will cover is that of Gareth Williams, 2010, United Kingdom. In the heart of London, where secrets pulse through the city's veins, a brilliant codebreaker vanished into a locked bag, his life extinguished in a mystery that defies logic. Gareth Williams, a mathematician turned MI6 operative, was found in a scene straight from a spy novel, yet no one could say how he got there. As you sink into the night, let the shadows of his Pimlico flat and the whispers of espionage draw you into a puzzle that remains unsolved. On August 23, 2010, a humid summer day in central London, police entered a top-floor flat at 36 Alderney Street, Pimlico, just half a mile from MI6's fortress-like headquarters. The visit was a welfare check prompted by colleagues who hadn't heard from 31-year-old Gareth Williams for over a week. Inside the tidy, government-owned safe house, curtains drawn against the midday sun, they found a scene that would spark global intrigue. In the ensuite bathroom of the main bedroom, a red North Face holdall sat in an empty bathtub, padlocked shut from the outside. Inside, curled in a fetal position, was the naked, decomposing body of Williams, a Welsh mathematician and GCHQ analyst on secondment to MI6. The key to the padlock lay beneath him, inside the bag. No fingerprints, no DNA, no signs of struggle marked the bath or bag, and the flat's front door was locked from the outside. The discovery launched a case that remains one of Britain's most baffling mysteries, blending espionage, forensic anomalies, and whispers of a hidden life. Gareth Wynne Williams was born on September 26, 1978, in Valley, Anglesey, Wales, a quiet coastal village. A shy, reserved boy, he spoke Welsh as his first language and showed prodigious talent early. By age 10, he passed his GCSE in mathematics. By 14, his A-levels. At 17, while still in secondary school at Isdal Woman, Bodø, he graduated with a first-class mathematics degree from Bangor University, studying part-time. After earning a PhD in computer science at the University of Manchester, he dropped out of a postgraduate course at St. Catherine's College, Cambridge, and in 2001 joined GCHQ, the UK's signals intelligence agency in Cheltenham. There, he honed his skills in code breaking and cryptography, living modestly in a rented room in Prestbury, Gloucestershire, for nearly a decade. A keen cyclist and walker, he shunned social scenes, preferring solitude and intellectual challenges. Colleagues described him as brilliant but intensely private, rarely discussing his work or personal life. In 2009, Williams began a 3-year secondment to MI6 in London, moving into the Pimlico flat, a known safe house for intelligence operatives. His role shifted from desk-bound analysis to active operational work, including liaising with the U.S. National Security Agency, NSA, and FBI. He tracked international money laundering networks, reportedly focusing on Moscow-based mafia cells, and worked on counterterrorism, penetrating hacking networks at events like the 2010 Black Hat briefings and DEF-CON conferences. A foreign intelligence analyst later claimed Williams was obsessed with a Moscow-backed sleeper cell, including Russian spy Anna Chapman, arrested in the U.S. in June 2010. Yet, he disliked London's rat race and MI6's competitive culture, flash cars, post-work drinks, and requested a return to GCHQ set for September 2010, just weeks after his death. Williams's final days are a patchwork of mundane and mysterious. He returned from a U.S. holiday on August 11, 2010, and was last seen alive on August 15th, captured on CCTV, shopping in Knightsbridge, and visiting a comedy club in Bethnal Green for a drag show, the Johnny Woo Experience. His laptop showed a visit to a cycling website in the early hours of August 16th, the estimated date of his death. For a week, he missed work, but MI6's delay in reporting his absence raised eyebrows. His sister, Sari Subba, alerted GCHQ, prompting the welfare check. The flat's central heating, inexplicably on high in midsummer, accelerated decomposition, clouding toxicology results. No alcohol, drugs, or poisons were detected, and the cause of death, likely suffocation, remained uncertain. The crime scene was pristine, almost too perfect. The holdall, 32 by 19 inches, was padlocked with a Yale lock, its key inside with Williams. No fingerprints or DNA from Williams or others were found on the bag, padlock, or bath rim, despite expectations that he would have touched these surfaces if climbing in himself. A removed doorknob, a reset phone, and a green towel in a cupboard, later tested for DNA in 2023, yielding only Williams, added to the oddity. The flat showed no forced entry, and 9 memory sticks and a similar North Face bag at his office were initially withheld from police by MI6's SO-15 counterterrorism branch, raising suspicions of a cover-up. Coroner Fiona Wilcox later criticized this lack of cooperation and MI6's delay in reporting Williams missing, noting it likely cost key evidence. The 2012 inquest, led by Wilcox, delivered a bombshell. Williams's death was unnatural and likely to have been criminally mediated. She ruled he was probably unlawfully killed, citing the absence of his fingerprints on the bath or bag, the improbability of him locking himself inside, and the lack of evidence for suicide. 2 experts attempted 400 times to lock themselves in an identical bag, failing each time. One remarked even Harry Houdini would have struggled. Wilcox also questioned MI6's credibility, particularly why line managers didn't notice Williams's absence sooner. The family's solicitor, Robin Williams, echoed this, accusing GCHQ and MI6 of failing to check on his welfare. Yet, a 2013 Metropolitan Police reinvestigation, led by Detective Assistant Commissioner Martin Hewitt, concluded it was probably an accident, arguing it was theoretically possible for Williams to enter and lock the bag alone, despite no new evidence supporting this. The espionage angle loomed large. Williams' work on Russian money laundering and counterterrorism placed him in a high-stakes world. 2 police sources confirmed his focus on Russia, with one noting his NSA collaboration on organized crime networks. Theories swirled. Was he poisoned by Russian agents, possibly the SVR, to silence him? Boris Karpichkov, a former KGB defector, claimed in 2015 that Williams knew of a Russian mole in GCHQ and was targeted after refusing to become a double agent. Others speculated MI6 or U.S. agents acted if he threatened to leak sensitive data. The flat's ownership by New Rodna, a company with a Russian name meaning motherland, fueled Cold War-style intrigue, though no evidence linked it directly to Russia. Comparisons to Georgy Markov's 1978 poison umbrella assassination and Alexander Litvinenko's 2006 polonium poisoning amplified public fascination. Williams's private life became a media lightning rod, often unfairly. Police found 25,000 pounds of high-end women's clothing, Christian Louboutin shoes, Christian Dior dresses in his flat, some worn, alongside an orange wig. His internet history included brief visits to bondage websites and a YouTube search for bondage training, though police clarified he wasn't obsessed. The 2007 incident, reported by his Cheltenham landlady, described Williams tied to his bedposts, shouting for help, claiming he was testing if he could escape. She and her husband cut him free, assuming it was sexual rather than escapology. Media speculated about a sexual misadventure, autoerotic asphyxiation, or a fetish gone wrong, but detectives found no evidence of pornography, escorts, or recent sexual activity beyond consensual traces from the day of his death. The family decreed these reports as smears, insisting the clothing and searches were irrelevant or planted to discredit him. Forensic efforts continued. A 2021 review, completed in November 2023, retested items like the green towel, bag, and padlock, but found no new DNA or lines of inquiry, per Detective Chief Inspector Neil John. Critics, including forensic expert Peter Falding, who failed 300 attempts to lock himself in a similar bag, called the police's accident ruling whitewash. Falding argued Williams was likely dead before being placed in the bag, possibly poisoned, with the scene cleaned to remove prints. Former MP Norman Baker, in a 2022 podcast, suggested a Russian hit, claiming Williams was close to unmasking a GCHQ mole. The family, devastated, stood by the coroner's 2012 verdict, expressing frustration at the lack of closure. Williams was buried on September 26, 2010 at Isdal after a private funeral at Bethel Chapel, Holyhead, attended by family, friends, and MI6 head Sir John Sawers. His death, estimated in the early hours of August 16th, remains a tragedy wrapped in enigma. The Channel 5 documentary The Spy in the Bag 2024 and Death in Ice Valley podcast have kept the case alive, but answers elude. Was he a victim of foreign agents, a casualty of his own agency's secrets, or a man undone by a private act gone awry? The padlocked bag, a symbol of his locked-away life, holds its secrets still. As you drift toward sleep, imagine the quiet of that Pimlico flat, the hum of London beyond, and a man whose brilliance couldn't save him from a fate no one can explain. Was Gareth Williams a spy betrayed, a genius lost, or something else entirely? Let the question linger in the dark, unanswered, as the city sleeps. Lastly, we will travel back to Norway in 1995 to discuss the case of a woman who went by the name of Jennifer Fairgate. But who was she, really? In a luxurious Oslo hotel, a woman called Jennifer Fairgate checked in with a name that wasn't hers, a story that didn't add up, and a secret that ended with a gunshot. Her locked room held no answers, only a pistol, a briefcase of bullets, and a mystery that lingers like a shadow. As you drift into the night, let the quiet of that 28th floor suite and the enigma of a woman without a past guide you into a puzzle that defies resolution. On the evening of May 31st, 1995, a woman stepped into the lobby of the Oslo Plaza Hotel, now the Radisson Blu Plaza, one of Norway's most prestigious establishments. Dressed in a sharp black blazer, she carried an air of quiet confidence. At 10:44 p.m., she checked into room 2805, a high-end suite on the 28th floor with sweeping city views, costing over 1,800 Norwegian kroner per night, roughly $400 in today's terms. She gave her name as Jennifer Fairgate, though she misspelled it twice as Fergate on hotel forms, and provided a false address in Verlaine, Belgium, Rue de la Stede, 148, a street that didn't exist. She claimed to be 21 years old and said a man, Lois Fairgate, would join her. Remarkably, the hotel staff didn't request identification or a credit card, a breach of protocol at such an upscale venue. 3 days later, on June 3rd, 1995, she was found dead in her room, a 9mm Browning pistol in her hand and a bullet wound in her forehead. The official ruling was suicide, but the sterile scene, erased identity, and haunting inconsistencies have fueled speculation for nearly 3 decades. Who was Jennifer Fairgate, and what brought her to that locked room in Oslo? The discovery unfolded with a jolt. At 7:50 p.m. on June 3rd, 25-year-old security guard Espen Nace was sent to room 2805 to address an unpaid bill, as Jennifer hadn't provided payment details. A "Do Not Disturb" sign had hung on the door for days. When Ness knocked, a gunshot rang out almost instantly. Alarmed, he fled to alert his supervisor, leaving the room unattended for 15 minutes. Oslo police arrived 50 minutes later and found the door double-locked from the inside with 2 key cards in the room. Jennifer lay on the bed, propped against the headboard, dressed in a black blazer, shirt, and stockings. Her right hand held the pistol upside down, thumb on the trigger, with no blood or gunshot residue on her skin, a detail that baffled investigators. A single bullet hole pierced her forehead, and a second shot had been fired into a pillow, suggesting a test fire. The room was eerily sparse. No toiletries, no passport, no wallet. A briefcase held 25 rounds of 9mm ammunition, and her clothing, mostly tops, no bottoms beyond what she wore, had all labels removed, save one on a German-made blazer. A Citizen Aqualand dive watch on her left wrist, model CQ1021-50, produced in January 1992, was the only item with a serial number intact. A newspaper bag marked 2-8-1-6 contained a USA Today, hinting at a connection to another room, but hotel records from 1995 were later lost. The autopsy raised more questions. No defensive wounds or signs of struggle were found, and partially digested food in her stomach suggested she died on June 2nd, a day before discovery. Toxicology tested only for alcohol, not drugs, leaving open the possibility of poisoning or sedation. Her age was estimated at 25 to 30, not 21 as she claimed, based on forensic pathology. Expensive gold and porcelain dental work pointed to origins in the United States, Switzerland, the Netherlands, or Germany. In 2016, her body was exhumed for DNA and isotope analysis, revealing European ancestry, likely non-Scandinavian, with a childhood possibly in Germany. Carbon-14 levels in her teeth, influenced by Cold War nuclear testing, suggested a birth year around 1971. Despite Interpol searches, her fingerprints and DNA matched no known records. The woman who called herself Jennifer Fairgate had no traceable past. Her behavior at the hotel was as enigmatic as her death. Keycard logs showed she left room 2805 on June 1st at 12:21 a.m., returning 20 to 24 hours later on June 2nd at 8:50 a.m. A maid, Vigdis Vallo, and a trainee cleaned the room on June 1st, finding it empty, the bed untouched, and an extra duvet unused despite the booking for 2. On June 2nd, Jennifer extended her stay to Sunday, again without payment. That evening, she ordered room service, a pizza and soda, tipping generously with 50 kroner, about $17 today. She made 2 international calls to Belgium, to numbers in Sereng and Grasse-Ologne, differing by 1 digit but neither connected, and no recipients were identified. Witnesses described her as elegant, 5 feet 2 inches to 5 feet 3 inches, 147 pounds, with short, possibly dyed black hair and blue eyes. She spoke fluent English and German with no distinct accent. One employee recalled a man, aged 25 to 40, entering the room with her at check-in, but Lois Fairgate was never seen by staff, and his role remains a ghost in the narrative. The Oslo Plaza, a hub for diplomats and executives, was no stranger to high-profile guests. In 1995, it hosted secret Oslo Accords negotiations between Israel and Palestine, a detail that fuels espionage theories. Norwegian intelligence officer Ola Kaldager, featured in Netflix's Unsolved Mysteries, 2020, noted that Jennifer's tradecraft, removed clothing tags, a filed-off gun serial number, and use of a throwaway alias mirrored spy tactics. Her Citizen Aqualand, a robust dive watch linked to military units like the British Special Boat Service, seemed out of place for a young woman, suggesting a functional rather than fashionable choice. Her prolonged absence from the room, possibly for operational meetings, and the sterile scene align with an intelligence operative's profile. Some speculate she was a covert agent, perhaps Eastern European, given her German accent noted by staff, or an assassin tracked down and eliminated. The 15-minute gap after the gunshot could have allowed a killer to escape, with the double-locked door staged to suggest suicide. Yet, the espionage theory isn't airtight. The pistol's awkward grip and lack of residue suggest someone else fired it, but no other DNA or fingerprints were found. The second keycard, possibly Lois's, and the newspaper from room 2816 hint at another player, but a Belgian guest in room 2818, Mr. F, claimed he was told of the death at checkout on June 3rd before it was public, raising suspicions of involvement or a hotel leak. A neighbor in room 2818 reported a suspicious foreign couple and banging sounds, but police didn't pursue room 2816's occupant due to missing records. Critics argue a professional operative wouldn't use a misspelled alias or leave ammunition behind, pointing instead to personal motives. Theories include a sex worker hiding from a pimp, a trafficking victim, or a woman in distress erasing her identity for a private exit. Her Balkan-like features, noted by some, and the misspelling of Fairgate as Fergate, resembling Slavic pronunciations of fair, suggest a Yugoslavian origin, possibly tied to the 1990s Balkan conflicts. Investigators faced a wall of dead ends. The Browning pistol, common in criminal and military circles, had its serial number removed with acid, thwarting traceability. A 2017 analysis by Norway's VG newspaper linked her clothing and briefcase to German brands, reinforcing a Central European connection. Journalist Lars Christian Wegner, who covered the case for decades, traced her to Verlaine, Belgium, finding no matches but noting the 1990s kidnapping cases of Marc Dutroux, which disrupted missing persons records. In 2023, isotope analysis confirmed she lived in Germany around age 15, but her later years were a blank. Despite global media coverage, including Unsolved Mysteries and VG's interactive reports, no one has claimed her. X posts from 2024 to 2025 reflect ongoing fascination, with users like @Fast1 highlighting the unlikelihood of suicide due to ballistics and the absence of fingerprints, though some debate a simpler explanation: a lonely woman seeking anonymity. Jennifer was held in police custody for a year, then buried on June 26, 1996, in an unmarked pauper's grave at Oslo's Vestre Gravlund Cemetery, with no ceremony or mourners. Her exhumation in 2016 offered hope, but the case remains Norway's most perplexing cold case. Was she a spy, betrayed in a high-stakes game, a victim of a personal vendetta staged to vanish, or a woman who chose a final silent departure? The Oslo night holds her secrets, locked as tightly as that 28th floor door. As you slip towards sleep, envision the glow of Oslo's skyline, the hum of a hotel corridor, and a woman whose name was never hers. The pistol, the watch, the missing tags, they whisper of a life concealed. What truth lies behind Jennifer Fairgate's locked door? Let the question fade into the dark, unanswered, as the city dreams below. As the night deepens, the stories of the Isdal Woman, Gareth Williams, and Jennifer Fairgate linger like half-remembered dreams, each marked by mystery, yet distinct in their shadows. All three carried secrets: coded notes, locked bags, and erased identities, woven through Cold War tensions or modern intelligence webs. Yet their fates diverge. The Isdal Woman's aliases clashed with Fairgate's sparse traces, while Williams' known MI6 role contrasts with the women's anonymity. Were they spies, caught in games too vast to escape, or simply souls lost to their own private wars? What do you believe lies behind their silenced truths? Thank you for joining us on this haunting journey. If this story kept you on the edge of your dreams, share it with a friend, leave us a review, and subscribe to our podcast and YouTube channel. Until next time, sleep well, dear listeners, and keep one eye open. You never know what secrets the night might hold. This has been True Crime Sleep Stories, where the line between dreams and nightmares blurs. Good night.